What's up everyone, and welcome back to HateWatchers. Today we're going over episode 7 of The Mandalorian entitled The Spies. Let's get right into the breakdown. Spoilers ahead. We open up on Coruscant as we follow they/them into a shady alley where them gets scanned by an Imperial droid. The droid, afraid of using the wrong pronouns, just says screw it and connects they/them with Moff Gustavo Fring, and them tells him that Mando and Ho-Katan are bestest Beskar buds now. The Moff reports to this group of Imperial remnant leaders who are calling themselves the Shadowy Council of Bad Guys, and its membership includes Captain Pellaeon and Commandant Hux, General Hux's daddy. Fring requests some Praetorian guards and some ships to deal with the uppity Mandalorians, and he calls into question the leadership of Grand Admiral Thrawn, because Disney needs a name drop to save their dying franchise. We come to Navarro where the Mandalorians have arrived. There goes the neighborhood. Mando meets with Greef Karga when one stuffed animal shows up driving around the now-named IG-12, and what do you know, the other stuffed animal fits inside as well. After Baby Yoda takes it for a test run, he immediately turns to a life of crime as he just starts robbing street vendors. Mando volunteers himself and his infant companion for a dangerous mission to secure the Great Forge on Mandalore and scout the planet. Then pretty much every single Mandalorian volunteers too, and they pack their shit up and leave Navarro faster than they arrived. Touching down on Mandalore, Ho tells everyone what to do now that she's the undisputed leader of the universe because a man handed her a weapon that's part of a dumb, illogical prophecy. A sailboat glides in carrying about 5 Mandalorian survivors, and then Ho tells the survivors that she surrendered to the Empire back in the day, which they didn't know, and everyone has a good cry. Somewhere in her ramblings, Ho apparently said something about her past that Mando didn't know about, and this changes his perception of her, and he practically kneels before his new queen. Paz Vizsla and Axe Woves fight over space chests, but Baby Yoda stops them because he's too young to understand honor. The sailboat comes across a dinosaur that destroys their ship, and the brave, honorable Mandalorians, descended from the greatest warriors in galactic history, flee in terror. And they just so happen to be chased directly into the Great Forge they were looking for that was 20 feet to the left of the dinosaur. Just as they arrive, a bunch of stormtroopers with jetpacks and Beskar armor show up and attack them. A firefight ensues, and the stormtroopers withdraw into Moff Gideon's base here on Mandalore, drawing the Mandalorians into a trap. Din gets captured, and Ho can't use the Darksaber to cut a hole in the door to save him. Dark Iron Man shows up, because even Favreau is out of ideas, but it's Moff Fring who's bringing back the Dark Trooper program, and he demands the Darksaber and Ho's surrender. Ho uses the Darksaber, which can now cut through doors, to create an exit, and the Mandalorians escape, but Paz Vizsla stays behind. Paz actually kills everyone, but some Praetorian guards show up and cancel his reign of toxic masculinity, and the episode comes to an end. Well, we've reached that point in the video where we have to decide if this episode was a great watch or a hate watch. But this episode is a debate watch, in between great watch and hate watch. There are some good moments and some fun action, but this season has pulled us much too far out of this story for this episode to draw us back in. Viewed in a silo, this episode is probably a 6 or 7, but we don't have the memory of a pot-smoking goldfish. This isn't enough to undo the rest of the season up to this point. Simply put, this is all just too little too late. Most of these developments should have happened 4 episodes sooner in the season. The season couldn't even decide what the overarching story was going to be for 5 episodes. Knowing that Gideon was out there further developing the Dark Trooper program, secretly working with these big-name Imperials, and posing a further threat to the Mandalorians and the Republic would have kept people interested in this season, even through the shitty episodes. Instead, Disney relegated one of the few interesting characters in the show to only appearing in the last 2 episodes, and thousands upon thousands of people checked out of Disney Star Wars for good after last week due to this terrible storytelling structure. Disney left these longtime fans with nothing to hold on to, and now they're not coming back. Probably the worst thing this episode does is further pull the rug out from under fans by handing Din and Baby Yoda's show to Bo-Katan. Din has been almost entirely irrelevant since episode 2. Even Grogu at this point is just tagging along for the ride so the camera can show his face close up from time to time and make him babble when they need to move merch. This is now the Bo Show, and if you're upset that 3 seasons into a show the creators changed the main character focus out of nowhere, then congratulations, you're a sexist. I mean, look at the poster advertised in season 3. Look how obvious it is that Bo was the Mandalorian all along. What's wrong with you? Why do you no longer like the show we fundamentally changed, you bigot? And while there was a decent amount of action in this one, a lot of the action was typical Disney nonsense. It only works if you don't think about it with any sense of logic. Why didn't Bo use the Darksaber to even try and save Din? Why didn't Baby Yoda use those force powers he used to have? Why didn't Din and the Mandalorians who got trapped jetpack out through the opening above them they just showed? Why didn't Paz Vizsla escape that way when his jetpack was still working? Why didn't the stormtroopers knocked off a ledge just use their jetpacks? Why did these incredible warriors get pulled into such an easy ambush? Also, Bo was a terrible leader so far. Her first reign as leader of Mandalore went so badly that the planet had to be assumed to be cursed. Now 36 hours into her second reign, she's gotten about half of her 50 Mandalorians killed in an ambush, so we're off to another great start. On the positive side, there was some interesting exploration of Mandalorian lore. We also enjoyed seeing Pellaeon as part of the Shadow Council at the beginning of the episode. In Legends, Gilad Pellaeon was a commander in the Imperial Remnant and eventually became Thrawn's right-hand man. General Hux's father was also on the council, but no one cares. And of course, Thrawn was name-dropped as Disney tries to steer their various stories into the heir of the Empire storyline. But even these developments that are somewhat good are misguided, as proven by this episode's reference to Operation Necromancer. These powerful Imperial leaders from Star Wars Legends are not returning to seek power for themselves. They are working diligently toward making the return of Palpatine a possibility.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Palpatine returning was awful writing and storytelling. People want as much distance from these stupid ideas as possible, but Disney will not let it die.
Let the past die. Kill it, if you have to.
Thrawn and Pellaeon and their ilk emerging from the shadows and seeking power of their own would be infinitely more interesting than just trying to further explain one of the worst bits of storytelling from the worst Star Wars movies. As for smaller issues with this episode, the Shadow Council being so worried about Mandalorians seems silly when they're trying to retake the galaxy with Thrawn and a reborn Emperor. Especially considering the Mandalorians' allegiance in galactic conflicts has wavered a ton in the past. Also, why did this random dinosaur emerge from beneath Mandalore's surface instead of the Mythosaur? You've already established there's a Mythosaur lurking down there, and it emerging in front of a group of Mandalorians would be a thing of legend that would help unite everyone and motivate them to rebuild their civilization. But nope, let's just throw in a random dinosaur because we can't remember what happened 5 episodes prior. So in next week's finale, based on what we've seen so far and assuming we weren't just wasting time this season, Bo will ride the Mythosaur and liberate Mandalore. Dr. Pershing will fly in on a cloned dragon and explain why his episode wasn't a complete waste of time. Baby Yoda will be saved again by Kelleran Beck because apparently that storyline means nothing. And Lizzo will barge in and eat Moff Gideon before he kills Mando. That's just how it has to be if they want to tie everything from this season together. Bottom line, Disney put the most important episode of this season after the worst episode of the entire series, and with only 1 episode remaining after it. Even though this episode may have been good, it isn't going to undo the damage that's already been done. How are you rating this episode? Did it make you forget our perilous journey to Planet Lizzo last week? Have you officially left Star Wars behind? Let us know in the comments. And please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing to the channel for our review of the season finale of The Mandalorian, a complete season review afterward, and a funniest clips video, in addition to reviews of other current shows and movies. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll catch you on the next one.